place is the Écréhous, a series of naked reefs out in the channel, seasonally battered or caressed by a Jekyll and Hyde sea. The man is Alphonse Le Gastelois, and for 14 years he's lived on this desolate place, mostly without another human soul for company. If he looks one way from his reef, he can see the coast of France. The other way, the coast of Jersey, where he was born. But Alphonse has no great desire for human contact. He's a recluse, who at certain times of the year even finds the remote Écréhous far too overpopulated for his liking. In summer, the cluster of fishermen's huts and shelters attract yachtsmen and their families from the mainland. They want to get away from it all, but Alphonse wants to get away from them. So his hut's on the rockiest reef of all, where, to his great relief, he manages to get cut off by the tide. He clings to the rock and survives much as the scavenging seabirds do, accepting the odd crust from passing fishermen, taking the odd pound from the summer people for keeping their nests in order during the winter. Not many of the tax exiles in Jersey would live in this place, but to Alphonse, it's home. Important possessions he carries in a polythene bag.
Open sea moderate to rather rough. Further outlook from 0200 GMT to 1400 GMT tomorrow.
And his only concession to the rest of the world is the transistor radio. Not for pops and the news, though, just the weather forecast.
That is the end of the weather bulletin. The next bulletin is at 1845 GMT.
Alphonse isn't just any old eccentric dropout. He didn't leave a world he couldn't cope with, but rather one that couldn't cope with him. His self-imposed exile came about after a nightmarish experience that would have destroyed a less resilient character. Starting in the early 60s and spanning a period of 11 years, Jersey was terrorized by a maniac. The Beast of Jersey, as the rapist was called, held the whole island in a grip of fear. His victims could give no description because he wore a mask. But in the early days, suspicion fell on Alphonse Le Gastelois. The police questioned him, and his house was searched on several occasions. But although not a scrap of evidence was ever found to incriminate him, people began to shun him. Stones were thrown at him in the street, and his windows were smashed. Persecuted and pilloried, he decided to move to the Écréhous. After 3 years, the real rapist struck again. Nobody now could suspect Alphonse, a man with no boat, isolated on a reef, with France 7 miles away in one direction, and Jersey the same distance in the other. It had been an extreme but an effective way to prove his innocence. But it was 5 more years before the matter was finally cleared up. Now, at last, Alphonse could go back a free man to the Jersey that had persecuted him. But he decided not to. All those years living by himself had made contact with the rest of the world less and less important. Soon, the Jersey papers were featuring Alphonse again. But this time, he was doing the attacking. To the outrage of the Jersey authorities, he claimed sovereignty over the reef that had been his home for so many years. He wanted to be king of the Écréhous. This summer, for the first time in 14 years, he's come out of exile to spend time on Jersey researching his claim through the convoluted Norman French of the island's laws.
Why should you own the islands? Why can't anybody come on then and say they belong to me?
Well, there's a Treaty of Paris which says that all territory must be properly possessed for British sovereignty. And so far, this hasn't been so.
So what you're saying basically is that nobody owns it at the moment?
Nobody owns it. It's still free for anybody to claim.
Now what makes your claim so good though? Why do you think you're the man that ought to own it?
Well, I'm the only one that's lived here. I've been here for 12 years anyway, which is a specified time. And I haven't seen anybody to tell me I was on their land, to pay them rates or taxes or whatever, to claim their sovereignty. So therefore there's no owner, I must be the owner. And therefore I demand my autonomy.
If Alphonse gets control of his reef, he says he'll make just one law. To a society ridden with rules, it sounds odd and eccentric. But to a man happy with his own company, it makes perfect sense. The king of the Écréhous will tell the world and his brother to push off and leave him alone.